we're born in a gentocracy. We're ruled by a gentocracy where it's basically just the older people are ruling over the general public, which is factually true, but I think only focusing on that is not the right take at it. You should be criticizing their politics, criticizing things they actually do.
All right, cool. First of all, hi, I'm Nate.
Hi, Max.
Max? All right, M-A-X?
Yep.
Max? Awesome. All right, so Max, I guess first thing is just an explanation of what I'm doing. So what I'm doing is something called street epistemology, and it is basically a way of talking to people about something that they believe in strongly, in a way that's not confrontational, it's not an argument, it's not a debate, it's not people yelling at each other, but basically we just explore something that you believe, and it can be really any topic, so any sort of position that you have on something, and we just explore it in kind of a cooperative way, where I'll ask questions and I will challenge you on some things. But if at any point you don't want to continue having the conversation or you feel uncomfortable, we can stop. But how much time do you have?
I gotta leave, get somewhere by 4, or just over to Ivy Tech
Oh,
for
okay.
signing.
We got plenty of time.
Okay.
We won't go that long. So, so the topic is totally up to you. Generally, it's more interesting and it's more productive if it's something that you believe strongly in, especially something that maybe affects your behavior. But it could really be anything that has been on your mind recently. I've talked to people about political beliefs. I've talked to people about religious beliefs. I've talked to people about social issues. I've talked to people about all kinds of things. So if there's anything that's been on your mind recently that you'd like to talk about or like to explore, do you have any ideas?
Yeah. Recently, I saw criticizing politicians' age as a fake politics criticism.
As a fake politics criticism.
Yeah.
What does that mean exactly?
Basically, when you criticize a politician, I guess either side, everyone's old now. When you criticize their age, that detracts from what you should really be talking about, which is their politics, their past voting record, and the systems of power that let someone that old maintain power throughout their life.
Okay, gotcha. So would you say that a person's age shouldn't be a factor in how we evaluate them for political office? Is that or should be a factor?
It shouldn't be as big of a factor because you see everyone bashes Trump or Biden because they are old. But yes, they're old, but if that's causing, because people can start mentally deteriorating at any age. So by saying their age, they're not fit, that's distracting from the actual point. You say, I don't like Biden because he does this. I don't like Trump because he does this, not just because they're all old.
Okay. Gotcha. So it kind of helps to frame it in kind of a factual fact claim kind of way. So let me see if you would agree with this framing. A person's age doesn't negatively or maybe even positively affect their ability to govern? Something like that?
Yeah, something like that. But my main focus is when it's talked about in the media. I think all the media articles about how Congress is getting older, I think that's really a big disservice to the public when they should really be talking about how is Congress getting older every year. It's because it's really incumbent politicians stay in power a lot more easier. Stuff like that.
So I guess we could explore it a couple of different ways. We could explore the belief that age doesn't affect somebody's ability to govern. Or we could discuss something about the media. Could the media being not reporting properly or something like that about this? Or
it's just trying to think how to put it. Just only there's lots of articles I see just about the age and how everyone's old. Why are we're born in a gentocracy. We're ruled by a gentocracy where it's basically just the older people are ruling over the general public, which is factually true, but I think only focusing on that is not the right take at it. You should be criticizing their politics, criticizing things they actually do.
Okay. All right. So I think what I hear you kind of coming back to is this idea that age shouldn't matter. We shouldn't judge a politician by their age, basically. That their age doesn't affect their ability to govern.
Yeah.
And you would agree with that statement?
I would, yeah.
Okay. How confident are you that age doesn't affect somebody's ability to govern?
I'm pretty confident. Of course, there's arguments as you get older, your bodily systems start to deteriorate, but that happens at different moments. So, because like someone in their 50s or 60s could start mentally deteriorating, where someone in their 80s or 90s could still be all there. So it really just depends. So I don't think age is the only thing you should look at, and you shouldn't make like a diagnosis from afar. Like lots of people saying Biden's not right in the head just because of how he speaks, which he doesn't speak the best, but you shouldn't just be looking at how he speaks and trying to diagnose something yourself. You should look at what he actually does.
Gotcha. Okay. If you're going to put that confidence on like a scale, like 0 to 10, 0 to 100, do you think you'd be able to do that? Or
probably 8.
8 out of 10?
Because there's still room where as you older, but for the most part, it shouldn't affect it.
Cool. Okay, so I'm hearing one of the reasons that you have this belief that somebody's age doesn't necessarily affect their ability to govern is that mental deterioration can happen at any time.
Yeah.
Do you think this is the main reason that you have this belief?
Yeah, and part of it goes hand in hand with what I was saying about how the media criticizes it. Is like they're always attacking someone for their age doesn't exactly work. That doesn't do anything, because at the end of the day, that doesn't change anything. Like you should actually be like encouraging.
Okay, so for those either media people or just other people who maybe disagree with you, who do see a problem with age for certain politicians, do you think that it's this idea of mental deterioration? Do you think that's the main reason, or is there something else?
I think they're correlating their age directly with mental deterioration, even though that's not always the case.
Is there a correlation, though?
There is a correlation,
Okay.
but I think they're diagnosing it from afar, and they're also saying like they're old, they're not like up to date with our current generation, which isn't always true. Like you can have older people that know what they're doing, and like if you say like the older people, they're like, oh, they don't understand the struggles. It's really because they've been in power for most of their life, so they haven't had to live what a normal person's life is. So it's not just because of age that they aren't in touch. It's because of their position in power and how they're in the top 1% compared to the rest of society.
Okay, so the disconnect that might exist, or at least the perceived disconnect that may exist, might be due to other factors, not age, or at least not primarily age.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Do you see issues with this kind of the other direction at all? Do you ever see like younger politicians getting criticized for their age?
Yeah, definitely. I think the AOC. I think she's a young one. She's always being criticized for being young and being radical, but like it's by the same people who also criticize the older people for being it. Like it goes both ways. They're attacking her. She's young. She doesn't know how the world works, or he's old. He's not up to date. It goes both ways. There's a split. Like they attack this for being too young, one side for being too old.
Right. Now you do say you're at like an 8 out of 10, so that tells me that you're not like 100%. You're not like absolute confidence in this. So why are you at an 8 out of 10 and not higher, not 9, 10?
I think just because there is as you get older, you do start to deteriorate no matter what. Like you're more likely to have that, and then
that
when
correlation,
you are younger, and there's also you got to be 35 to be president, because there is a thing you got to be. I think to effectively rule, you have to be a certain age. But once you are that age, people shouldn't criticize you for being so young. You are qualified for that position. Your age for it shouldn't matter. Likewise for like the older part, like when you get older, you're more likely to have health problems. But if you don't, your age shouldn't be an issue.
Okay, so I'm hearing you kind of say like, okay, there's kind of something to the concern in general, because there is this kind of correlation, maybe at both extreme, older people tend to have, maybe mental deterioration at a higher rate than younger people, although, like you said earlier, it can happen to anybody for a variety of reasons. And then maybe young people, there are concerns about maturity and life experience, maybe. But you're at an 8 out of 10. Mainly what I'm hearing is that maybe the focus should be more on their policies, their politics, not their age.
I think the concern for age is overblown. I don't know if even it's just been something I was thinking about, like I was seeing all these criticizing, like, oh, they're too old. I was thinking, like, because one of my classes today, we talked about ageism as a discussion, so that sparked it in my head, because it's something I've thought about before, just how that shouldn't, because it's not, when you criticize a politician, their age is not their politics, so it doesn't, because politicians are defined by their politics, not by their age, so it kind of is this fake politics, I guess.
Gotcha. Fake politics, do you mean that in like that the people making this criticism are being disingenuous or dishonest in some way, or what do you mean by fake politics?
Like, you're acting as if you're discussing politics without actually saying anything. Like, when you discuss someone's age, you're not saying anything about the politics. You're just...
Gotcha. So it's not really addressing the argument. Yeah. So maybe it's kind of like I don't want to say like a fallacy, but it wouldn't be like you wouldn't win points in like a debate competition for that, right? Because you're not addressing the actual arguments or policies that person is making, so it's kind of like an invalid criticism to some extent. Okay. Is there anything that you could learn that would make you more confident in your stance that age shouldn't matter?
Not anything I could learn. Probably more stuff to experience, but I think my 8 out of 10 is just solid for the two reasons I've given. Like, as you get older, you aren't as sharp, and as when you're younger, you haven't seen as many things. So that's why each side of those, I guess, is 1 point taken off my 10.
That seems reasonable.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you could learn that would actually decrease your confidence in this claim?
I won't say there isn't, but nothing particularly strikes my mind. Like, if it's more, well, I'm sure there's something, but nothing comes to my head. And like, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm wondering, like, what does it mean to be like a bad politician to you, like, or be bad at governing? What would that look like if somebody's bad at governing?
You take the interest of the 1% and enact them on the rest of the population. Like, your interests are in the big corporations. You're not interested in your actual people. You also, I'm not saying people can't change, but if you flip-flop your policies depending on, let's say, who's lobbying with you, I think that makes a bad politician, because they're bought out.
So like minority rule and corruption would be examples. Okay. I'm just trying to like kind of build a hypothetical that maybe would decrease confidence and see what you think about it. Like, if there were some sort of evidence, maybe some sort of study, I don't know how exactly, sociologists or political scientists did some sort of study, and they found that a certain age demographic tended to be more likely, if they were in power, to enact special interest policies that maybe don't represent their constituents, or maybe they tend to be more corrupt. Would that change your confidence?
No, because I would look at that study. The study would have a sample bias, because the people that are already in power are usually more corrupt. They stay in power by doing that. They get a lot of funding from the 1%. So I'd like, if it was a study on everything, but given the situation now, if they did that study, which I'm sure like that study would come back true. That
really? Okay.
I think like the older you are, the more likely, but I don't think that's because of age. I think that's because you grow old in those positions for being like that. They receive tons of campaign funding, and they buy out the other candidates essentially by having more funding, and they can just drowned out the other candidates.
So what I'm kind of hearing is like an alternative explanation, alternative claim, for if we saw that data. Let me see if this is kind of what you're saying. Are you kind of saying that instead of criticizing a political candidate's age or a politician's age, we should be more critical of those politicians who have been in power for a long time, who have like been an incumbent many times.
Yep. I think that's really what I'm getting at.
Okay.
'Cause
Interesting.
It's not, if an older politician is in power for tons of years, maybe you should look at that. Like, how did that happen?
Mhm.
What systems do we have in place that can't let? Because I know president can't be incumbent for a long time, but for Congress and House of Representatives, there is no term limits.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like, are there examples of like older people, somebody who's in their 60s or 70s or something like that, who just gets into politics at that age?
And
I can't really think of very many examples of that sort of thing.
yeah, me neither. Which is why it's not because they're old; it's because they've grown old in that position, they've aged in that position.
Okay. So if somebody were to make an argument that, we should stop voting for these old candidates, but not because they're old, but because they've already had 3, 4, 5 terms or something like that, would that be a better argument than what you see like in the media?
I don't think so, because that's not a political argument. That's just based on the chronological time they had. I think they should really criticize their policies. Like, they've been in power this long. What have they done?
Mm-hmm.
What has changed? Nothing. Things have gotten worse. Like, what they've actually... Because you can have an incumbent politician just because they're really popular and they do good things. So I don't think that's valid.
So we don't want to necessarily like paint with a broad brush.
Yeah.
We don't want to just judge an individual based on maybe trends within a group.
Yeah.
Okay. I agree with that.
All right. Good.
All right, cool. I'm trying to think if I have any other sorts of questions for you about this belief right now. And I don't think that I do right now. So we kind of talked about what could increase your confidence, what could decrease your confidence, maybe some alternative explanations. I feel like we've explored it pretty well. Are there any other thoughts that you have right now on this topic?
Not that I can think of. But I just think it's interesting how like all sides of the political spectrum and all like, I think it serves power to criticize someone's age instead of the policies they enact. Like, you could say something Biden or Trump did really affected poor Americans, but instead you can say, oh, they're the oldest presidents we've ever had, don't vote for them. Should really be like, this is something they did and this is why it's bad.
Right.
Could be better.
Yeah, I think it's important to judge somebody on their actions and their positions and the things that they actually do, the things they actually advocate for, as opposed to what demographic group they might be a part of, right? Because there are always exceptions, right? There are always outliers within any demographic group, right?
And because I think your age demographic doesn't correlate to your beliefs as much as your class position and your life circumstances. So I'm sure like an older person working at McDonald's is pretty aligned with, let's say, a college person working at McDonald's, because they're in the same or not exactly the same, but they're in more similar situations than the old guy working at McDonald's and the old guy that's leading the country. So I think we should, instead of defining people by their age class, you should define them by their economic class. Because so the more unite the classes more than, because people of different ages can be in totally different situations.
Is there a danger to trying to make things about class instead, though?
I think I probably shouldn't have said it that way, but I get that sounded kind of define people by their classes.
Yeah.
But I don't think we should just define them by their classes, but I think I guess it was a way to illustrate how your age doesn't correlate with your beliefs as much as your situation.
Gotcha, yeah. Okay. All right. Well, do you still feel like you're at about an 8 out of 10 on this claim?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. Cool. Any questions for me?
Where can I watch this later? If it goes up.
Perfect. Yeah. I generally put them all up, so
All
you'll
right.
probably see it at some point. Here, I've got a card for you. It's got my
Thank you.
YouTube channel. The QR codes there will take you to the channel. I've also got an email address. If you want to email me, contact me for any reason, you can. And then on the back, that is a little more information about what I'm doing. There's community people who go out and do this sort of thing. The idea just to be able to talk to people about things that might be difficult to talk to them about, but do it in a caring, kind way, but still in a way that we can actually explore and maybe, test different ideas out.
I feel that was achieved today. Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, Max,
Yeah.
nice meeting you.
Thank you. Nice meeting you too.
Have a good one. Thanks for
you
dropping
too.
by.
Yeah. Good summer.
You too.
Do you go here or?
No, I'm old. I'm
Older.
35.
Yeah, I have some old people in some of my classes.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Anybody can go back to school at any time. No, I went to Purdue. I graduated in 2010. I actually teach. I'm a high school teacher up here. So,
Okay. What do you major in?
Developmental biology.
Biology. So do you teach biology there? Or
Yep.
something?
Yep.
All right.
Biology and biomedical science. Pretty good. So.
I don't do that. I don't like.
What are you? Yeah. What are you studying?
Mechanical engineering.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Yep. And probably minor in materials.
Gotcha. What year are you in?
Second.
Second
Or
year.
about to end my second.
Yeah. First year of the full engineering load, right?
Yeah.
Getting out of the first year
Wasn't
engineering
too-
program and.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad this semester.
That's
I had more classes, but
Mhm.
they were pretty easier classes. I've
Oh,
had
really?
harder semesters with less credit hours. So
Cool. Well, that's nice. Good. Awesome. Well, good luck in the future.
thank you.
All right. Thanks for dropping by.
Yeah.
See you, Max.